Okay, actually, we are live. Hi, welcome to Thursdays with Troy again. I am Troy Lambert. As always, I'll probably be the same person next week. I am here today with our first interview on this series. So far, you've just listened to me talk about various different things about Plottr. Again, I'm a mystery and thriller writer. I am a freelance writer and editor as well, owner of a very small niche publishing company. And I am the education coordinator for Plottr, and we're putting together all kinds of exciting things for you this year, and this is just one of them. And today we are welcoming Victoria L.K. Williams to Thursdays with Troy. It's our first interview with an author that uses Plottr as well. She's also a cozy mystery author, which I'm going to let her talk about in just a minute. So Victoria, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and what you write, that type of.
Hi, like you said, I'm Victoria L.K. Williams, and I will apologize ahead of time. I have two cats that seem to know when I am on a meeting and they want to be involved. So if you see a tail fluffing by, it's just ignore it. It's one of the cats. I live in Vero Beach, Florida, which is between Melbourne and West Palm Beach, and I write cozy mysteries. And I call it Cozy Mysteries with a Tropical Twist because all of my mysteries are set in Florida.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Any of them set during hurricanes, or do you just kind of pretend those don't happen?
Oh, they're a big part of my life. Of course they are. I've had two in or around a hurricane.
Wow. Wow. That is fantastic. So you work full time still?
I do. I own a landscape company. As a matter of fact, I just got home.
Wow, that is fantastic. Yeah, that makes things a little bit tougher. So you fit in writing where you can. I imagine you do.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, that is fantastic. With two cats, that's got to be a handful.
And a husband.
And a husband. And a husband. Fantastic. Which one is more trouble? No, I'm not going to ask that question.
Don't go there.
Okay, so let me ask you. I'm going to ask you about your. So I've seen your various different series Bible and things for your cozy mystery series. Do you use a template when you create those, or do you have your own process, your own idea?
I fly by the seat of my pants. I don't use a template because I don't know what I'm doing when I start a series. I have a vague idea and I just start like mind mapping, figuring out where I think I want to go with it. Never ends up where I thought. And that's what's been so great about Plottr is I can move things around, just figure it out where I want. So no, the templates I stay away from because I know I'll mess them up.
Okay, I understand that. I use the templates, but a little bit differently. I'm actually going to share my screen at the moment because I'm going to share actually. Let me see if I can find the one I'm looking for. So actually, I love how you have here. We'll share our screen. So I love how you have all your covers planned out as well. Do you have those all made way ahead of time, or are these just placeholders, or how do you
No,
do that?
those are the actual covers. I have two wonderful people that make covers for me. And I just send them the rough idea of what I want, and then we go back and forth a few times, but they always come through for me. And that helps keep me
Fantastic.
it helps keep me focused to see the cover.
Right, exactly. That is fantastic, and I also like that it seems like you've created kind of a series timeline as well. And
Yes.
then, so I'm just kind of scrolling through these things. I guess I'll let you tell us about each one of these. So, this is just I assume as you go through the books, these are just your general outline of the books that you flesh out in each individual Plottr file.
You're looking at the series Bible. What I do for the series Bible is there are usually 6 or 7 books in a series. So I'll have like on this one, I knew it was going to be paranormal. So there has to be an element of number one, a murder and a mystery, and then magical elements or paranormal elements. Trying to think what else because I can't see that well.
Oh, here I'm actually
Okay,
going to zoom in just a little
there
bit,
we go. Uh,
and yeah, so it's
for
easier to read.
for this series, the paranormal element is revolving around a sea witch and a mermaid battle. So each element has to affect another element in order for it to work with, quote, the real world. So I have magical elements like a ring that opens up and has powers, and I make a list of everything like that and what the magical power is, and then how it affects the character and how it affects the plot line. Gets a little bit detailed, and the plotter helps keep me everything tracked. It also helps that I'm using things equally so that I'm not focusing on just one element. And some of the elements are used in one book and not in another.
Right.
And then I also keep track of what new characters are introduced in each book, who the victims are with each book, and how they affect, how they interact with both the heroine and the protagonist and the antagonist. And just each time I have another idea, I can plot it in there real easily if I know that it's going to continue through the series.
Right. So I see if I click over to the characters, you've got a lot of different characters, and then you have them tagged by basically the book, it looks like,
Yes.
with the tags over here.
Yes,
Okay.
and with the characters, they're also, whether they're main characters, supporting characters, paranormal characters, so that I need to be organized.
Gotcha. Yes, I'm very much the same way. I like how you've incorporated images. And it looks like, as far as characters, you use the pretty standard template. You don't necessarily use a character template to really flesh out their personality type or things like that.
Because I don't know what their personality is going to be like until I start writing.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm always curious about how other people use things in this particular aspect of things. And so I see the same thing with places, is you got pictures, that's always helpful for me as well. And that's beautiful. I kind of want to go there.
No, you don't. There's a sea witch's treasure in there.
Oh, well, yeah. Maybe not so much. Maybe somehow our series will cross over, and my Cthulhu series, Cthulhu will somehow go into the cave, and he'd be much safer than I am. Okay, well, that's fantastic. And then, so then let me look at one of your individual books, if you don't mind. I'll look at the first.
No, go ahead.
I guess that's the first one. And so I see in your scene cards that, some of them are just, you have the title, and that's really what the scene card's all about.
I think if you go to book 5, you'll find a lot more information.
Oh, okay. Let's go to book. Which one's one?
That one, Mist Across from the Sea.
Okay. I will do that. Oh, I see you've evolved.
Exactly. Yeah, I got Plottr I think around book 3. So I've got to go back and re-enter things for the first 2 books.
Gotcha. Okay. That's understandable. This is really interesting to see how someone has evolved using Plottr, from, just the original where, okay, I'm going to put the things in there, to all of these various different timelines. That is fantastic. I like how you've incorporated the location and characters into this as well. So
the main reason I do the characters is to make sure that everybody's getting equal billing.
Gotcha.
So it just kind of, I don't want to have it all one-sided where everything is about the main character and the side characters are being ignored until they're needed.
Right. That is really fantastic. And so you end up with, let's see how many chapters you have here. About 35 chapters. So your length of your novels is
between 55 and 60, okay, and between 28 and 35 chapters.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. That's actually, from an editor's standpoint, I'm just thinking of the cozy genre and, how
yeah,
things fit into
much
that.
longer than that, and they don't seem to do as well. Cozy readers like to read fast.
Right. Yes. They love. I have a Capital City Murders series, and they're all very short, novella length, type things, because that's the tolerance for length. I get with other thrillers, I can get away with longer, but more cozy things, that's kind of different. So, okay. Well, I'm going to switch screens because I'm going to look. Now we're going to look at your goals. Now we don't have to look in depth at your goals. If you don't want me to open something, just tell me.
It doesn't matter.
Don't do that. But let me see here. And let me make sure this is yours, not mine. So,
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, because it looks much more organized than mine does. So, so actually, let me zoom in on this one too. Oops. Come on, zoom. There we go. Oh man, I love that. So basically you have a general goal and then you've broken them down into various months by quarter, even on the personal side.
Yeah.
Oh, Botanical Concepts. I'm assuming that is your gardening company.
Mm-hmm. So, if I don't have everything in front of me, it gets pushed aside. So this works.
Right, exactly. So we'll concentrate on the writing and editing part so that we don't get too deep into there. So basically your January, you have a very simple finished rough draft of, I'm assuming, book 6.
Yes.
So, and then you just basically move through the various different months, various different goals throughout the months. Some of them don't have goals.
Yeah, some of them
Yeah, and mine are kind of the same. I have so a friend of mine has what she calls a rolling 12-month goals, that if she finishes some faster, then obviously the timeline moves up, and if she finishes some slower, the timeline gets pushed. And I've actually started doing that a little bit this year just because it feels a little more reasonable than really beating myself up for missing something.
Yeah.
Especially after 2020, for some reason
it doesn't look like 2021 is going to be much better.
I'm shy to. Oh, we've got a couple days in. Things are interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to put it.
Yes, without going down any strange roads or anything like that. So anyway, I'm fascinated by this and the way you've organized your goals by month. I've done it similarly, but in a much more spread out way. So I like the way you add things underneath each timeline. That actually is really, I think that's a really brilliant way of doing things.
Oh, thank you.
To be honest with you. But I did want to switch over to one other thing. And that is simply because I do want to share your newsletter planning, because I know that authors sometimes don't focus super well on this. Now, I have an advantage over many of those authors because my wife, who we were talking about beforehand, who is my dearest and closest friend, just because she does not just because, but for one reason, because she does all my Excel files. But I find that Plottr was much easier. She does my newsletters for me, but we both talked about it and I was like, Plottr is actually much easier to look at your newsletter things as far as what actually you're going to include in them per newsletter. So I think this is a very fantastic. So talk to us about how you came up with this idea.
The biggest reason I started doing it is because I couldn't keep I could have, but I didn't. I don't like Excel. So I was having a hard time keeping track of who I was doing newsletter swaps with.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
So from there, I started looking at what do I include in my newsletter, and I do a big newsletter, and then I do a news blast, which is much smaller, and it's just a couple of promos and maybe a word from the cats, and just one or two extra things. Whereas the first of the month true newsletter has a lot in it. And if you keep going down and you click on the promos, just click on anybody. I guess go far over. Like try let's see.
Oh, let's see here.
I want to grab my mouse and do it for you.
Okay. I'll stop and you
try Barbara Walkman.
Barbara Walkman. Okay, where?
Or Pamela Workman.
Pamela Workman. Okay, gotcha. Okay, yes.
So you can see, because I don't like to have to go back and forth between screens, I put a picture of their book, where their link is, and usually I also put what the blurb is. So when I'm working on my newsletter, I have everything right there in front of me and I just copy and paste.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is actually a brilliant idea. So I'll ask you just from a marketing standpoint, what size is your newsletter, and do you use swaps to grow it a lot? How do you do that?
Um, I have done 90% of my newsletter through swaps and BookFunnel. There's a few paid promos that I've done, but those are my big ones. And it's a fairly intensive newsletter for the first of the month. There's probably 7 or 8 items above and beyond the book swaps. And then News Blast, like I said, is short and sweet. Just a couple of promos and 1 or 2 like blurbs from me. I don't necessarily spend a lot of my newsletter space on promoting my own books. I do that more when I have something on sale or a new release, because I feel the information that I'm putting out should keep my readers coming back rather than making them feel like they're always getting an advertisement.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Well, now we're going to go back to books. I actually
Okay.
absolutely love that, but we're going to go back to books because, I guess we should talk about books.
That's what we do.
So yes. So as far as Plottr is concerned, let me pull this up again. What what are the features that are? I mean, I see how you use tags and things like that. What are some of the other features that you use that you like best, perhaps?
Um, well, I loved being able to have my chapters outlined like they are, because it's just a brief paragraph and I can change it if I want to. So in fact, that's what I was doing at lunch today. I had a couple chapters I had to rearrange, and it's so easy to do. I mean, you just pull, pull it over to wherever you want or delete it and add something different. Um, and I love the fact that everything stacks, so that if I'm in one chapter, I can look and I can see what the timeline is, where it's located, and who's involved, so that the important things that are involved in that chapter are right in my vision, so I don't miss anything.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I actually love that. Now, so do you stack like underneath here, do you add new scenes here? Since this is my copy and it won't mess you up. Do you add new scenes underneath, like stacking like that, or do you just like stack your timelines, like the
No,
timeline location
I
character?
do add a new scene. My chapters are short, so there's usually just one scene in a chapter, but if I do have a second scene, I do what you just showed. I stack it right underneath.
Gotcha. Okay, that is
And
because
then
I noticed that with your goals. So I'd like that.
And if I've added a second scene, I also, under location, if it's in a different location, I can stack underneath that where the location is. And if there's under characters, if there's other characters in the second scene that weren't in the first scene, I can add them.
Wow. Yeah, I like that actually. So that makes a lot of sense because if you added a second scene here, I'm just going to pretend, like I say, since this is my copy, at least it won't mess yours up for what you're actually trying to do. Oop, how did I do that? Oh, no, I messed it up. Okay, there we go. I don't know how I did that. Anyway, but yeah, so if you add a second scene here, then you can add a second location. You can add a second set of characters if that's necessary. So actually, yeah, I think that's a really great idea. Let's see if I can add this without messing it up. And then, it just doesn't want me to do that apparently. So anyway, all right. Well, I won't mess around with that too much. But yeah, that's actually a brilliant idea. And obviously, you use characters. It looks like you use tags a lot. What all do you use tags for?
Just so that when I look at the character, I know what, especially for characters, which book they're in. Because I try to, I don't repeat criminals or victims. They're always new for different books, and I try and bring in a new paranormal object or a part of a legend different into each book. So I want to keep track of what book those things have been added into.
Gotcha. Okay, that's really cool. And again, you have places and those type of things.
And
Um,
I'm really visual, so I do a lot of dropping pictures from Pinterest down, and that way I kind of have an idea what I want. And character casting, that's probably the most fun when you're starting an outline of a book, is going through and going on the internet and seeing who do you think would play your character.
yeah, that is actually that's always really fun. And I've used the thing where I want a character and I don't want it to actually be a real person. So I just go on those AIs that create a person and then
Hmm.
so here, I'm gonna try to expand this and see if I can add these now without oops. Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go.
There you go.
So I hit the expand button first, so it's not collapsed. Then I do that, and then okay. Well, then I would do. Oh, now I've actually gotten into a different book selection. It looks like here, but yeah. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Oh, because you do have some things stacked underneath here, and so I added a
Yes,
second
some
location.
of them I have added a second.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, you already had some second scenes. So that's why now that I expanded it, now I can see all those things. But yeah, the post office and the beach house. Okay, I see exactly how you're doing here. And so then if you had a secondary group of characters, you would hit your
Exactly.
second group here, like that. Okay, okay. That makes sense. I just wanted to show people stacking. Some people don't understand how that works or like how to do it. Also, I'll show you guys a secondary thing that I showed somebody earlier today in the group who was looking for. So let's say you wanted to move this to like chapter 17, but it's like, so you can still do chapter notes, but then if you hit down here in chapter 17, it will actually move that scene card for you
Oh, wow.
all the way over to chapter 17. So people were talking about they create things on the end and they have to drag and drop it. I'm like, no, you don't have to drag and drop it. You just have to tell this, oh, I didn't really want it in chapter 17. I wanted this in chapter 3. And then we scroll back to the beginning. It pops up under chapter 3.
Oh,
The
that's
way
a time saver.
the way I have found this the most useful is especially on the iPad app. If you're working on the iPad app and you're working mobile, sometimes
Yes.
trying to drag and drop over multiple screens, because I have mine blown up. I have a big monitor, I have it blown up so I can see it easily. I don't like straining my eyes. So if you do that type of thing, it's just a really simple way to move things. And even if you wanted to change the timeline, now in this case, I'm not going to do it, but you can go chapter notes, timeline, location, or characters, and you can drop it into the timeline you want and underneath the chapter that you want in that timeline.
Oh, that's
Um, so,
great.
so that drop down, that'll save you tons and tons of time. I thought I'd take the chance to showcase that since we're here, and since I mentioned that to somebody earlier in a group, that just as a way um, to make that faster. Now, when you export, do you export yours to Word or Scrivener, or what do you
I
write in? Let's put it
I
that
write in Scrivener, and I have exported it to Scrivener. But what I usually do, to be honest, is I have two screens, and I have Plottr on one screen and Scrivener on the other screen, and I've got them both going at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I was wondering that some people export, like I have exported to Scrivener, but also sometimes when I change things as I go, then I will go back and change them in Plottr as well. So when I go into the editing process, I actually use Plottr in the editing process too. So have you done that? Have you used Plottr as part of your editing process too, as far as your rewriting and self-writing process?
No, Plottr is strictly for outlining for
Strictly
me.
for outlining. Okay.
Mm.
Sweet. I've done some interesting things with writers with editing, with using Plottr to, when you change your plot as you go along, to rearrange your plot in your rewriting process. So I was just curious if you tried anything like that. Now, what did you use to outline before Plottr? Was there anything you used in particular, or were you just, other than
Oh,
Excel?
the note cards in Scrivener.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Which was, and that was fine, but then it was constantly closing one screen and opening another screen, whereas this way, like I said, I've got them both going at once, so if I can't remember, I can just look real quickly over at the other screen and see what Plottr tells me, and then I can go back to Scrivener.
That is excellent, because I've got the same thing. I've got multiple screens, and things are on each screen that basically lets me look back and forth without moving and doing research. Um, okay, let me see here. I think there's a question someone asked that I haven't been paying any attention to, which is shame on me. Um, so someone has asked, Plottr helped you write faster?
Yes, and much more organized.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not having to look back through all kinds of notes to try and figure out what I did 4 chapters ago.
Right. And I would say exactly the same thing. I always took, when I first adopted Scrivener I was just writing in Word and word processing. When I adopted Scrivener, my writing speed went up by about 30%, because it was just, everything was faster. It was
Mhm.
easier to do stuff. When I added Plottr to that, it accelerated things even further. I would just say it was game changing. And so when did you start to use Plottr? I think you said you
Um,
used it for a long time.
yeah, it's been, I think, probably, oh, I don't know. 4 it's been 4 books.
4 books. Yeah. So yeah,
That's how your life revolves.
exactly. Yeah, I bought it at the initial offering at LTUE long time ago, and even at the beginning, when it was just it didn't have near the features it has now, which I get so excited every time there's a new release. I'm like, ooh, new
Yes.
stuff, new features.
New toys, new
New
toys.
toys, yay! And so yeah, I get really excited by that. But I've had it from the very beginning. Are there any of the features that you use in Plottr that you want to tell people about that are just like, you know,
Um,
game
oh,
changers for you? Anything like that?
probably the biggest game changer for me is being able to use Plottr on the iPad, because
Yes.
I most of my writing is done by dictation with Dragon. So if I'm in the car at lunch, I'm dictating, but I don't have my Scrivener in front of me, so I can pull up my iPad and see what Plotter's doing, and all my information's right there, so I'm not having to flub over things or get the wrong scenes in order. It just makes it so much easier when you're away from, your office area.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I am going to actually stop sharing screen. I'm going to go here. So I'm going to ask you, what's next for you, and where can people find you if they want to find you?
Oh, let's see what's
Other
next
than
for
stalking, you don't have to give us your address or anything like that.
what's next for me is finish this series, book 6. I'm 3/4 of the way done with it, and then the dreaded editing phase. And then I have the outline. Actually, over Christmas, my husband and I went away to a bed and breakfast, and I spent the weekend outlining. So my next series is outlined and
Oh,
ready to
fantastic.
go.
Fantastic. Okay. And I know you can be found on Facebook, because that's where we found each other. But where else can
Yes.
people find you?
Probably the easiest way to do it is just to go to my website, and that's victorialkwilliams.com. And it's got links to everything. So I have 2 different blogs going. I have a gardening blog, I have a writing blog, which right now my writing blog for the last year has been nothing but author interviews, which I'm having a blast with.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
then my gardening blog, actually, I tie that into my newsletter. There's a little poison secrets that we share poisonous plants, and you can only find the answers when you're reading it in the newsletter. You can only find the answers by going to my blog.
Oh,
So
that
I'm
is fantastic.
trying to share both, multi-use of your platforms, and just get your word out there.
Okay, well, only one last question. Thursdays with Troy, we're going to try to solve some of the world's biggest questions by asking authors to define them for us, because we know that authors always have the best ideas. So, are you ready for your final question of the interview?
Sure.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely.
Fantastic, a woman after my own heart. That is
And
fantastic.
on ham and
Yes, and on everything else.
yes,
Yes,
pineapple, yeah.
Yes, that is fantastic. I am thrilled by the answer. Of course, I would not expect a different answer from anyone who wrote cozy romances with a tropical twist. Of course, you're going to love pineapple on pizza and everything else. Well, thank you very much for joining us. If you will, when you go to the Facebook group, if you can drop your website and maybe a link to the subscription to your newsletter in the comments below this post, people can find you. Again, guys, if you have additional questions that you haven't had a chance to ask during the live, feel free to tag myself or Victoria in the comments underneath. If you have questions about her process, questions about the different things we talked about, feel free to tag us in the comments below the post. We'll be in and out answering. I see Victoria in the group all the time. That's how I got the idea of outlining my goals with Plottr, and I'm very happy to see that she does it so much better than I do. So thank you all for joining us. Feel free to comment, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll see you again next Thursday for another Thursdays with Troy, and you never know who we're going to interview, and we'll also try to solve the biggest questions in the world by asking writers. So thanks for joining us. Thank you, Victoria. We'll see you around, I'm sure. All right, you too. Bye.